Welcome to the Climate, Culture, and Conflict Crash Course. Today we've got so many great books, authors, researchers to expose you to and to help you navigate both climate, culture, conflict in a positive way, building sometimes from the ground up or sometimes refashioning culture as it's already set in place. So let's start out with the culture code. So Daniel Coyle gives us this great definition right out of the beginning of the book. Culture is a set of living relationships working toward a shared goal. It's not something you are, it's something you do. So it is ongoing. And as soon as it becomes stagnant, we start to lose. But there's one more element to add, and it's this notion of climate as it pairs up with culture. So this book right here is called School Culture Rewired by Gruner and Whitaker. They have a wonderful book that really navigates these two interlocking features. So we have this definition of culture, which is sort of comprised of the beliefs, values, and behaviors we say we're all about in our organization or in our school, how we do business here. Climate, on the other hand, reveals daily how well we actually live out those beliefs, values, behaviors. Do we, in fact, do business here this way? Or is it more of a statement on the wall? So, navigating climate and culture, one of the best ways we can do that is anchoring an organization to a mission. So the three big pieces today that help us navigate all this are as follows: mission, relationship, and collaborative culture. We want to focus on mission first. So to get it on track, your organization, your school, whatever it may be, we want to anchor it to this notion of a mission. So one of the best books we'll read in this program is called Great by Choice by Jim Collins. And he says that the companies that do 10 times better than their peers, one of the things they have in place that others don't is a clear and focused mission. So let's take a look at some of these on the screen here and see if they're more of a slogan or a mission, maybe just a statement or an actual mission. So you can see different companies lighting up. You remember these, you see them. But as customers, often you're wondering, how seriously do they really take these? How much do they really live up to these statements? One that really does live up to it is Intel. Their slogan, which is more than, is Intel delivers. It's an actual mission because they get it done every time across multiple continents. They are a trusted company that gets it done every single time. Intel delivers. And that's why they are, quote, a 10x company from Great by Choice. One local example happens to be Writers Helping Writers in the Right Place. This is the mission of the Central Magnet Writing Lab. And every day we have to make sure that that is true, that we actually live up to that mission. So, every single day when students walk in, they have to believe that we are there for them, to support them every day, no matter what kind of writer they are. We're ready to help them because we are writers ourselves. We have to live out this mission every single day, and that's the really tough part in helping gauge your climate and culture and keep it on track. Making sure you live out the mission. This is a very special place to us, one that we can guarantee Monday through Friday, every kid gets what we say we're giving out, which is a safe place to come and be a writer. So in Great by Choice, they have this notion of what's called fanatic discipline. Fanatic discipline, meaning that every single day we will march, day in, day out, grinding toward that true north, that thing we said we were all about, that mission. And a book that really relates to this specifically to schools is called What Effective Schools Do by Lizotte and Snyder, one of the best books we're going to read in this program. And one of their chapters illustrates how important a clear and focused mission is to schools that are the best of the best. In fact, there are 7 correlates, and one of those correlates for success is a clear and focused mission. So let's go back to our pieces here. We've got our mission to help us lock into climate and culture that is built to last. And now we've got this notion of relationships. Once we've got this mission, we come together to build authentic relationships where we can drive toward that mission every single day. So The Innovator's Mindset by Kouros, he says, the most important words in education are relationships, relationships, relationships. Without them, we have nothing. And that could not be more true. But we have to build authentic relationships over time, just as your mission is built and sustained over time. So the 6-word memoir is one exercise that we can use. We've used this before, and you can see how powerful it is to crunch down your entire experience into those few words, and then you share those. You share those authentically and openly with your team, with your faculty, to help build those real relationships where you can trust each other. So, we come back to the culture code. We realize that this relationship and building a sense of belonging takes more than one little exercise like the memoir. It's more than that. It has to be doubled down every single day. He says a mere hint of belonging is not enough. One or two signals are not enough. We are built to require lots of signaling over and over. This is why a sense of belonging is easy to destroy and hard to build. And that is absolutely true. When you're thinking about your climate and culture, you say you have this certain culture, and it has to be built every single day. And when you use your climate check, sort of that dipstick measuring stick, on a Monday or a Wednesday or in February as opposed to April, that consistency has to be key. People belong, and they belong every day, and that includes the students, the parents, everyone involved in that ecosystem or that culture. So the building blocks of real relationships, we're really dealing with these two words of the notions of trust and vulnerability. So real relationships are built upon these things. So without vulnerability, there is no trust, and without trust, there is no vulnerability. These are key elements once we have a mission. Now we have to build the relationships to go on that and chase that mission together. Let's go back to Vietnam, diving in to the DNA of the Vietnam platoon. So these people talk about trust and vulnerability. They had to have it to survive such rigorous, such scary times. Let's take a look inside what this team would look like. So we have a second lieutenant leading the charge. We have the sergeant. We have the radio man, the point man who goes out first to take a look, the big gun man. This is usually the big guy who has to carry the big gun, but the medic man to fix you up, and then the medicine man to help you escape. Look at how different these roles are. We need all these different roles to succeed in this mission, and we need real relationships built on trust and vulnerability to get it done. Let's take a look today. Modern Special Forces. This book here, Deliberate Discomfort, it's a new book where we have similar trends here. So in Special Forces units, they can sometimes look like this. We have a captain leading the charge, a weapons sergeant, communication specialist, engineers, and medics, all with their own roles to play. But we have to have a real relationship inside of teams, both small and large, where we can actually trust them to, guess what, do their job. Now we're back to the New England Patriots, their landmark documentary, where you get to see inside their organization. Everyone has a role to play because we have this mission that we're out to drive to. And we have to trust each other to do our job, play our part, and get it done. Authentic, trust, vulnerable relationships. The traits of great teams, of course. Teams are great if they're built with diversity in thought, background, and talent. So we want to do those talent inventory measures to make sure that everyone's in the right spot. We've got the right talent. We've got a wide diversity of thought from different backgrounds. So we get to our final piece. Once we have our mission to drive to and the relationships we can trust to help each other get there, we really want to foster that collaborative culture. And this is where our conflict piece comes in as we talk about climate, culture, and conflict. So The Myths of Creativity, a great book that we'll be reading in pieces, illustrates that no one does it alone. One of the biggest myths about the breakthroughs of mankind is that it was done in a solo way. In fact, almost all the biggest breakthroughs we've ever seen have come through teams. Even let's go to music. One of the best teams ever, although highly dysfunctional, Prince and the Revolution. Even Prince couldn't do it alone, and he was one of the most prolific, sort of lone geniuses, but really it was that team that gave him so many breakthroughs together with that group. And speaking of dysfunctional teams, we have this landmark book, Lencioni's Take, where we go through a itemized list of how to create a collaborative culture, this final element, final piece. Focus on, as we said, vulnerability-based trust. We're acknowledging mistakes, weaknesses, and failures, leaning into it. Recognizing the strengths of others, even if it's eclipsing our own. Welcoming productive conflict. Unapologetic accountability. We will get it done because we have a collective orientation to results. The thing we're going to focus on to close this out is welcoming productive conflict. This is the final piece of that collaborative culture that we want. So let's take a look at some real examples you can use. So we're going to practice what we call the what if and maybe mindset. This is where we can ask questions and be okay with not knowing the answers because we have talent in the room that will help us find those new possibilities. So we're going to take a look at the punch-up process. This is borrowed from Conan O'Brien when he used to work in the writer's room for The Simpsons in the early 90s. Basically what happens in the writer's room is you get a bunch of comedians together, a bunch of comic writers, and they throw a joke out into the ether for a show, and they say, how can I get help? And they run the joke around the table and they punch it up, amplifying the funny. Every single time it goes to a new person, they spin it and they alter it and they adapt it and they try to make it better. And when it goes around the room, we've got a joke that was great, that was your own, and now the team has leveraged all their efforts together to make it the best of the best so that you laugh even harder. That's a productive piece of conflict because you're going to fight each other on how it's funnier for the audience. The plussing effect, very similar, comes from the Pixar world. You'll read this in the Culture Code, where their job is to critique, and critique very, very sharply, but they must add, the condition here is they must add on top of it a way to plus it or to make it better. That's the catch. It's critique plus ways to get it to the next level. So one frame gets critiqued by an entire room of animators, and then it gets plussed on how to make it better and better and better, and then we get these wonderful films that we see at the movie theater. And then finally we have the 10th man concept. This comes from this great film World War Z. In that film we see that there's a moment where one of the countries has installed a 10th man in their council, meaning that their responsibility was to always say what if and play that counterpoint just to make sure we haven't missed something special. So you can think about how to leverage that in your small teams, your admin teams, your whole group teams, whatever it may be. Who's going to play that purposeful what-ifer, that counterpointer to make sure that we haven't missed something? So we come back to our three big pieces, and we're navigating climate, culture, and conflict. One of the best ways to do it is to first get you a mission, something you're really going to drive to every single day. And your climate checks daily can reveal how close we are to that mission we said was important. And we do this all through authentic relationships where we can trust each other, to be vulnerable, to explore this together, to stretch toward things we haven't quite reached yet. And then finally, we do that through collaborative efforts, collaborative culture. It is a school or an organization built on the collective talents of the group. And that often deals with conflict, something we shouldn't shy away from. But it does need to be handled in a positive, constructive way. And those three strategies we just left with will help us move forward in a productive conflict so that we can have a truly collaborative culture. So in the end, we unite all these elements together so that we can navigate climate, culture, and conflict successfully day in and day out with our collaborative teams, whether it be PLCs, department teams, admin teams, whole school-wide. Thank you.